All he had to do was fire and it would all be over. His thumb was hovering over the trigger and his aim was resolute. What happens when your training, your mission objective, and the words of your commanding officer and your humanity all collide and conflict, and everything about it comes down to a single decision to be made in the span of a heartbeat? What would you do? December 20th, 1943, high above Germany, a B-17 bomber named Ye Old Pub is barely holding together. Half the tail's been blown apart, the nose is shredded. Most of the guns are useless. Crew members inside are bleeding, some of them badly, and the aircraft should, on all accounts, already be falling out of the sky. Inside the cockpit, 19-year-old Charlie Brown is doing something close to impossible, forcing the nose upward again and again while the plane fights him back every second, trying to give in to gravity. Then a shadow slides across the glass. A German Messerschmitt pulls alongside them, so close that Charlie can see the pilot's face through the canopy.
So I'm sitting in the cockpit alone, and I look out, and there's the world's worst nightmare sitting on my right wing.
This is Franz Stigler, an experienced Luftwaffe ace, calm, steady, and deadly accurate.
I closed my eyes, and I opened them again, and he was still there.
His thumb rests on the trigger, and no one on either side of the war would question what he is supposed to do next. That bomber has already dropped its payload. It cannot defend itself. One short burst of fire ends everything. But Franz does not fire. As he looks through the torn metal of the fuselage, he stops seeing a military target and starts seeing something else entirely. He sees wounded men pressed together in a flying wreck, desperately trying to keep each other alive with shaking hands and makeshift bandages. He sees a young pilot fighting not to win a battle, but to keep his crew breathing for just another minute.
I had one that couldn't walk, one that couldn't use his hands, and one with the leg blown off, and one dead.
And Franz remembers a lesson burned into him early in the war. His commander had told him that if he ever shot at a defenseless man, especially one escaping by parachute, he'd be executed on the spot.
That's just couldn't do it.
To Franz, this bomber is no longer a machine, it's a giant parachute full of terrified young men. If he pulls the trigger now, he knows he's no longer a soldier. So he makes a decision that could end up costing him his life. He moves closer, flying wingtip to wingtip with the American plane, and begins signaling with his hands, trying to guide them towards Sweden, a neutral country where they could land safely. Inside the bomber, the crew is frozen. They do not understand what they are seeing. They expect betrayal at any second. Franz sees their fear and realizes they will not follow. So he decides to do something even more dangerous. He stays with them. Below, German anti-aircraft guns track the damaged bomber, but they hesitate. None of them will fire with one of their own heroes flying escort. For miles, Franz Stigler protects an enemy aircraft from his own country, knowing that discovery would mean a firing squad. When they finally reach open water over the North Sea, Franz pulls slightly ahead, looks into the cockpit one last time, and salutes.
He gave a wave salute and left.
Charlie Brown salutes back. Then the German fighter turns away and disappears into the sky. Franz never reports what happens.
Well, I didn't want to look in the firing squad.
And Charlie survives the war, carrying the memory of that face for the rest of his life, always wondering who that man was and why he chose mercy. For more than 40 years, that moment lives only in their minds. Charlie searches his entire life for that man. In 1990, Charlie finally finds him. When they meet, there is no anger, no bitterness, no need to explain.
He thanked me, just hugged me, that's it.
He almost broke my ribs. He gave me a big bear hug and whatnot.
Franz looks at Charlie and tells him that he loves him like a brother. From that day on, they remain close friends until both men pass away in 2008. Two pilots from opposite sides of a world at war, connected by one choice that defined everything around them. So here's the question that history never answers for you. If you were Franz Stigler flying beside that crippled bomber, knowing what the rules demanded and what your conscience whispered, what would you have done? Let me know in the comments. And share this story with someone who still believes that even in the middle of unimaginable violence, humanity sometimes finds a way to surface.